but also very, very challenging and encouraging at the same time. I call him more Sesmo. On Friday, when we were ushering Easter, that was Good Friday, you saw his face on the Arrive Alive live on the ground. An exciting moment for me there as well, celebrating young talent. And remember, this is Look Up TV family in one face. Hashtag The Morning Drift. And I want to just appreciate, what you have been doing so far and coming up with new ideas. But we sat together and we tried to challenge each other, having had what people would say on social media, especially when you hear one veteran journalist being brought into one of these media stations, and you're like, oh wow, I think we watched her years ago, but wow, don't we have new or young journalists who are capable as well? Such questions I should ask, is it that young journalists are not competent enough? But what then does it mean to be a journalist in this industry or in the media fraternity when it comes to branding, to the point that we say, well, now this will pay you. There's a way you package yourself. And I want to hear from a young journalist today, what it means to build your brand, to be a young journalist in this day and age, especially with the competition coming with, of course, digital platforms, etc. We've also seen a lot of journalists, shift from being media personalities, maybe news anchors, to other things. A great shout out to Terrell, who is even doing, saloon work, just Yenim Susi. All right, so we just want to know what it means to be a journalist, especially young in this day and age. So if you're a young journalist, if you're in a podcast, if you're doing your own YouTube channel, if you have, you're watching for the Multimedia University, all right, what is your dream? What are your perspectives? And what do you expect in this career? I call you Sesmo a lot. Forgive me for that, because I think that's what you use on Facebook.
That is my online name, actually.
All right,
yeah, so my official name.
Give us your official name.
Yeah, of course, definitely. So my official name is Moses Okage.
Yes.
Maybe I can add the third one, Arico. Arico is my third name, my surname actually.
Yes.
So Sesmo Times is basically...
Yeah, Sesmo Times, and I think that also caught my attention.
Yeah, sure.
Because Sesmo Times is like your Times.
Sesmo Times, inverted. So it becomes very, very okay in the online world.
All right.
Yeah, now we're talking about the young journalism, the young journalist in the medias. But now, as you look countrywide,
yes,
we have journalists that have really come through and actually have shown their success. One of the biggest person I remember is Timothy Otieno. He has won awards. He's the youngest journalist I know so far.
Yes.
He's my mentor also. So I believe that we, the young journalists, are competent enough actually to breach also into the media and see and have the stories played, which of them are impactful.
Saying we are, competent. And a great shout out to Timothy Otieno, even as you're speaking, just some of the names that are standing out. Sure. But let's talk about you, Moses. I mean, you have studied this, you're through this. The short time you had, the short period and the short experience that you've had, how does it feel to be a journalist in this country, a young one for that matter, to this point in time?
So to this point I have reached, actually it's just God's blessing, because you reach at a point where maybe the CEO or the director tells you that, Moses, you can't continue because you're not good enough. But I really appreciate, because it has never gotten to that point that I'm told, manze, wewe enda nyumbani, you can't do it. But for the old media stations I've worked with, wamesema, you are good, you're good, you're going places. And for that...
You're going places.
You're going places.
Okay.
This is an opportunity that you cannot find in any other place. We get opportunities and sometimes they vanish. So at this particular point, we say that for me, let me argue as myself.
Yes.
Getting a platform in the media is really opportunistic. Because at some point, you get to a media station, but you cannot go through.
All right, wait, you're talking about getting to a media station, but you cannot go through.
You cannot go through.
I'm trying to put this together.
Yeah. You cannot go through in the sense that maybe they don't believe you in what you do. They don't believe in your work. And it gets to a point now, they say that, sorry, your opportunity is lost. So at this particular moment, when we're speaking about myself as a young journalist, penetrating through the media is really a chance for opportunity, and also it has helped me more so to grow in the media. I thank Look Up also.
Oh yeah, of course. We talking about one of the youngest and fastest growing digital TV.
Sure.
That is Look Up TV. You see, most of us, we're really young for that matter. So great shout out to the management. But now looking at generally, you know, journalism. What, as you were learning, as you were going through, you know, being molded, you know, in terms of professionalism, what were you told to expect in the media industry? You know, having to be a lawyer, you know, you have to go through the KSL, you have to go through pupillage. You have to work under somebody, one or two things. What is the packaging of a media personality? What are you expecting, you know, through your internship and attachments? What really builds a journalist in this country?
So personally, when I was growing, when I was starting over, I expected that when I get into the media, I'll be given the priority that you will be here, you'll be hosting a show, you'll be doing news, you'll be given that
instantly.
That instant priority.
Okay.
You know, you'll get maybe to be seen on screen. But now, getting now inside, you get to realize that we have people who are ahead of you. You have the head of departments now. You need now to respect them. You need to follow them, to follow them what they're saying. You know, and also respect the likes of Salilima. You know, she's a great lady of power, and working under him.
Yes.
And sorry, working under her actually motivated and pushed me to see that there's a leeway to grow. People like Apollo Kamau, people like Macharia, Anne Macharia, they've really molded us in this media industry. What I expected was, I expected that immediately you get into the media, you're going to grow, you're going to start over and become a big name. But now you need to go slow now. You need to take things step by step. And so the full position that I am in, it's because of following the directives, following what it takes to be a good journalist, and up to this moment, we believe that the steps are going through.
Just like I had a guest this morning on Arrival Live talking about experience. You know, you'd want to ask yourself why certain veterans in the media, you know, world are paid a lot more than others. You make a name for yourself. Moses, how do you perceive branding? As because I'm looking at Moses, you know, you do something called Hapa ni Kazi too, probably taking shape, and we're going to introduce that to the viewer shortly, and why, you know, what journalism means to you. But let's talk about branding first. You know, there is you, the person, and then there is the, you know, the company you represent. What do you perceive as branding? Because there are certain shows that have personalities to them, and you know that veteran journalists now have names to their shows. But what is this branding that people don't understand that comes with media?
Sorry to inconvenience you, because the Hapa Kazi show, the Hapa Kazi 2 show, the video will not be playing because of it's a new show, so it needs to be new.
So it will premiere.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, sure. So in matters of branding, I believe that everyone has his or her own brand. It all narrows down to your real identity. Okay. There's someone who has made his or her own brand. I may focus on making his or her own brand. Now, the identity comes in the sense that I, as Moses Okech, I'm not supposed to do something that lies or look alike like another person.
So in media, you have to stand out.
You have to stand out.
It's uniqueness.
And that's the identity.
Okay.
I've been involved also in creating a video of the same thing as someone else did. And that narrows down my identity. Huyu anafanya kama Anki, huyu anafanya kama someone else. Someone else, you know, it narrows down.
Those things you're talking about, do they come from the public? This comes from the public.
It comes from the public because they see what you're doing. They see what the other person does. It becomes now unaiga mfano wa mwingine, rather than creating your own self, creating your own Moses Okech, creating your own Sasmo Times. You know, so it narrows down to identity. One of the greatest things that I also like to discuss is the portfolio. Having your brand. You have created your own portfolio. You have created your own self. You have created your own Sasmo Times. So in the blogs, in the Facebook accounts, in the Instagram, in the Twitter, you're creating your own thing. That becomes it builds you. It builds what you have created. It doesn't look like any other person. It looks like Sasmo Times. Sasmo Times. Now, publicity, engaging. You're engaging the community.
And of course, you're going to delve deeper into publicity as well. But at your point, engaging.
Engaging. We lose some point because we're not engaging. Earlier on, Anki, as I stepped in here, you mentioned about, have you shared the link? You know, you're engaging viewers to actually participate in this conversation.
Yes.
You know, that makes sense when they see Anki with Sasmo Times. You know, it becomes now, they are in the conversation. They are in the big conversation. You have created a publicity, a kind of a thing that they now understand that this is Sasmo Times and this is Anki. They were in the big conversation.
Moses, can I interrupt? There's been an aspect of the youth really being in depression. There's been FOMO issues, fear of missing out. And, you know, media can be quite a limelight, especially when you're trying to catch up with some of these things as a young person. You're a young journalist.
Very young.
And we've also had psychologists come on set over time, talk about the psychological perspective of young people right now and opting for shortcuts. I wonder how much pressure it can be, therefore, to be a young journalist, number one. You've talked about publicity, engaging, building your own brand. How much pressure are we looking at? And is there a positivity to it as we're speaking, interacting with all this and being in the limelight?
There's a lot of pressure, Anki.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure. Now, one of the examples I'll give you, wacha nitumie Kiswahili kidogo. Pale mtaani unapata jamaa fulani, you are in the same age. You're in the same age, but you have done your internship for 3 months.
That is in terms of media or generally?
Generally.
Okay.
In terms, personally, in terms of media, and the other one on the hustle side.
Okay.
Now, you have done your internship for 3 months. Yeye amefanya just the simple work for 3 months. Is being paid 15,000 per month. That is 15,000 times 3. By the end of the 3 months, he has 45,000. You've done your internship for 3 months. You don't have any cent.
Okay.
Now that pressure comes in the sense that una feel what are you doing? What are you doing? Anakwambia, where are you heading to? Where are you heading to? What are you doing? Sahi niko na 45,000. You have nothing. Will we eat your voice? Will we eat your content? You know, and most of the time pressure comes in also when you're creating blogs, you're creating some videos. You have sacrificed your 2 months creating blogs, but one of the videos has 2 views.
Okay.
For 3 months, you have 3 subscribers. Where are you heading to? So the other person feels like it is a wastage. And that, and that is a real lot pressure also in the young journalism. How can we be helped? The solution comes in. The solution comes in when we're speaking about how you embrace the young journalism, how you embrace what you do, how you embrace your creativity, your stories. Your stories must be in line. And that brings me back to the SOJO, the solution journalism. When you're speaking about the solution journalism, the stories you've done must have a clear evidence. We have the 4 pillars in the solution journalism.
Okay.
We have the evidence, we have the response, we have the limitation, we have the insight, and we have the lesson. If you are a young journalist, losing all the 4 pillars now depreciates what you can do, depreciates your story. Now, for example, if your story lacks evidence as a young journalist, lacks evidence, so that means we're not seeing the motive of that story. We're not seeing the real fact of that story. Now, after all, we are losing the lesson of that story.
And that brings me to the question, Sesmo or Moses, okay, for that matter. Young journalism, is it about fame or is it actually solution-oriented? You've talked about SOJO.
Sure.
And we've, of course, appreciated and acknowledged the of course, the outstanding young journalist, that is Timothy Otieno. And most of the time you see him globally acknowledged for his kind of journalism that's always solution-focused. And I'm going to come back to you, but allow me to appreciate those who are already on social media, especially on Facebook. I see here Celine Nyangere, very familiar name. You want to say good morning to Celine?
Sure.
Saying, enjoying the conversation, Okech is right. Penetrating in media without much experience ain't easy.
Ain't easy.
I'm believing this is one of the reporters that is very strong out here in matters social issues. I'm now speaking about, like you've said, you know, solution-oriented journalism. You've said doing something, putting on YouTube. Is it that more what sells right now is not solution-oriented? It has to be trending for some reason. It has to be something political here and there. What happened to solution or social, you know, solutions journalism? What did you say about that approach as we're speaking today? People are losing, you know, the trust and credibility in media.
Sure.
But this is what you're building yourself through. So where does this, you know, leave you? Solution-based
journalism is not about fame. It is not about fame. It is the society, the people, to hear what you're saying, to hear what you're speaking. It narrows down to, you want the film to apply on the solution-based? No. We have the solution-based to be of impact to who is listening, to the reader, and also to the news reporters. Now, as young journalists, we need to apply that. We need to tell people that this story happened this way, this story went this way, and this is how we sorted it out. It is not about fame. And that is where we're losing the point. You want to go into the media as a young journalist, and you want to get the fame immediately. It takes time. It takes time. For you to grow, it takes time. Now, first of all, the discipline that you apply as a young journalist, how does it drive you? How does it drive you? You know, so it's not all about fame. It's not about fame. We're solution-based. And that is why I appreciate the efforts of Look Up TV for actually having the soldiers on set.
And it's you know, if you agree with Moses, I'd love to hear from you as well. But Moses, I'm wondering if it's possible for us to see you in action. Do you have a certain clip of you reporting?
Yeah, sure.
That we can take a look at?
Yeah, sure. We can take a look. I did a story on KCPE.
Oh, great. Yeah. The ones that just the 2021 KCPE.
Yeah, the 2021, yeah, sure.
Yeah, so we're going to take a look at, you know, Moses here in action. Let me know also if you are getting to, you know, get your next, you know, big star on the screens.
Sure.
We'll be playing that shortly, but we'll come back again to discuss then on aspects of follow-ups, because we have been put on the limelight as media for trending issues and then not having to do follow-ups in terms of what next, what happened. So are we able to win back the trust even with the young generation of journalists that is coming up? Let's see Moses here, Okech, on, you know, location in action, and then we can challenge him to find out if he did that we have just, you know, witnessed as a nation. That is KCPE 2021. Take a look.
It was a bittersweet mood at Maureen's residence in Ng'ando, Dagoretti, as the family observed the good results of her son's KCPE results. Her son, Geoffrey Ocheng, is physically challenged and suffered from meningitis since he was 2 months old. But despite the challenges, Maureen managed to take her son to school. As we speak, she is enjoying the fruits of her labor. Her son Geoffrey managed to scoop 281 marks given the challenges that came with his condition. A journey, he says, was an uphill task.
Shida kidogo tu, yani kutoka hapa kuelekea mpaka Kinyanjui. Hata saa zingine ninapoelekea shule, msamaria mwema anaweza kuja anibebe hata na pikipiki ama gari anisindikize mpaka shuleni. Nikimaliza siku ya kusoma narudi, ninaporudi tena napatana na msamaria mwema mwenye anatoka karibu na shule, ananibeba na pikipiki au gari kunirudisha mpaka nyumbani.
Lazima niamshe, nimwambie avae, siwezi lala hiyo saa. Lazima niamke avae kama nimekaa. Lakini nilikuwa naomba tu Mungu akienda, Mungu mzingire. Tena akirudi Mungu mzingire amrudishe hapa. Juu shule pia ni mbali.
Ocheng's band legs made other peoples to make fun of him and calling him names that sometimes stigmatized him.
Watu kunitusi, watu kunichongoa. Wanasema mimi ni sura mbaya, siwezi pita. Niko na kierere.
Among the over 10,000 candidates who scored 250 marks and above, he falls in the list with 281 marks, but feels he will pull up his socks in secondary school.
Niliamua hata kama zimenipoteza, nikiingia shule ya sekondari ninaweza kuziimarisha ziwe zaidi, naweza kuziinua ziwe zaidi.
Mi si kuishi vibaya, juu nilisema Mungu yenye itatokea hiyo ndio yake. Na hiyo ndio hata kama lengo yake itarudi chini, lakini najua haitarudi chini. Juu wewe Mungu wewe ndio ulimpea huyo mtoto. Na wewe ndio uko na sababu na yeye ndio umempea hiyo. Najua akienda secondary nyota yake lazima ing'ae ya masomo.
The high cost of living is a big challenge to Maureen Akoth, who now seek help to well-wishers and Good Samaritans, thus appreciating the efforts of Look Up TV in reaching out to their family.
Napenda wakuje wanisaidie vile huyu mtoto nitamsomesha. Juu mimi niko tu na hii mkono yangu mbili na Mungu tu. Sasa unajua kama mtoto anataka amalize lengo yake na uko mkono tupu hivi, hauwezi. Ni kitu kubwa. Mungu amenionyesha huku mbele itakuwa mzuri. Sasa mimi nawashukuru sana. Nawashukuru Look Up. Kama unaweza kuwa na hiyo roho, unisaidie na usaidia watoto wengine. Mungu atabariki hiyo session.
This year saw 1.2 million students sit for their KCPE exams.
As Geoffrey Ocheng begins his new step for further education, he now believes that his marks will not deter him from becoming a judge in the near future. The mother, Maureen Akoth, appeals to the well-wishers to support and assist Ocheng's academic success. Moses Okech, Look Up TV.
All right, now that is Moses here right on set. Moses, I'm just going to go straight to you right now and ask you, how did you get this amazing story? You highlighted this, very warm, story. According to me, it was warm to me. How were you able to trace this person? And to what point did you get to actually say, I want to do this story and I want to highlight it on Look Up TV?
No, it was a point when the KCPE results were approaching.
Yes.
Yeah, so I decided to have the story on air because to feel the plight of this child who is disabled.
Yes.
The mother also is disabled.
Or living with disability.
Living with disability.
Yes.
So reaching to them was actually something that I felt hii inaweza kuwa on air, inaweza highlightiwa, maybe they can get help.
Yes.
So I have been through, I've studied with people who have been living with disability, and now I feel the pain. I feel the pinch of what they passed through. So getting the story online was actually from a self-hearted times. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Looking at this, there's been an aspect of, okay, journalists, you have a style of bringing out stuff to get numbers, but do you do follow-ups? I like that you've mentioned the fact that you did this for the people, because we do this to reflect what's in society for a reason. I am interrogating you as a journalist very intentionally to know, after this story was aired, the KCPE results did come out. What is the situation right now for this family? Have you done follow-ups? Are you in touch with them?
Before this conversation, I contacted the mother, Maureen Ocheng.
Okay.
She tells me that actually, Moses, Geoffrey would like to speak to you. Yeah, he's gotten a school around areas in Kabete.
Amazing.
It's a very good school. Now we're following up on now the startup of the Form 1s to enroll in school. So it's a good step. It's a good step. I feel that the efforts have not gone in vain. Okay. Yep.
Was there impact? Did the public respond to this story? I hear at some point she says, "God bless Look Up TV." God bless that station. Sure. But I'm looking at what was the response from the public, because what you did was to keep it out there. Is there any good feedback that your story actually did impact this young, life positively so far?
Yeah, I really appreciate, because the feedback, the positive feedback were more than the negative. I wouldn't say the negative, because as a journalist, you always accept what comes from the listener. So they said that, Sasmo, you're doing this story. How are you going to help them?
Yes, that is always the question, especially for young journalism.
Yeah, are you just having them as puppets, or are you having them just because you want to do a story? So for matters of ideal reaction, you need now just to lay low fast and think of what you're going to respond. So we have gotten the solution. We've gotten what the way forward for the family. That is when now you're going to respond. Because you might respond in a way, then it falls. They'll say that you didn't know what you're saying. So I believe that the response was very okay, and we appreciate that the family is moving forward and very okay.
All right, it's actually good to hear that. And if, of course, they're watching this morning, like you said, you spoke to Mommy, would love to hear from her. Please leave a comment at Look Up TV, #The Morning Drift. We're live on Facebook, and all the other families who have been impacted by young journalism. Would love to hear from your journalism, for that matter. We just want to understand what direction journalism is taking. Who are the next journalists who are taking, in positions as we continue, because we don't want to lose why media exists in the first place. You've talked about the response from the public, and I want to understand how young journalists get to, hold forth or to actually sustain themselves maturely, emotionally in the public space as well. Because once I see you on TV, whether you're 18 or 35, I expect you leaving some standard as a journalist. How does that work for you, Moses?
It's very important. In the earlier conversation you had, I saw the mature and experience. Once you've stepped in to give information to the public,
Yes.
information to different listeners, whether informal or formal, you need to be of standard. You need to be Sesmo Times who knows what he's saying, and that brings the impact of maturity.
Okay.
As I stepped,
You have to be well informed,
you have
you
to
mean?
be well informed.
Okay.
Because the listeners are different. Wewe unatuambia nini? You know, unasema nini? And that narrows down to they start criticizing your age.
All right.
Hata wewe ni mdogo najua hiyo kitu unasema hiyo tumebumembe useme, you know. So we need to be of standard, we need to be of good moral, we need to be of discipline. Because you're conversing with different people. Huyu tunamwona kwa TV ana behave hivi bado, you know. So it brings another picture. So that to me brings the discipline in the media. Discipline in the media.
So you've talked about people actually feeling you're not credible enough. Trust me, I will talk about some mainstream media. I'll not mention names, but you'd hardly see a younger face do some primetime bulletins. And people have questioned if it is because either young people are not very well informed or they just don't have the demeanor. Has this been something that has actually arisen in one of your conversations as journalists, young journalists in your peer groups? The aspect of you are not fit for this kind of show because of you're not big enough.
I'll speak on another level. There was a time we talked about my color.
Oh, your complexion.
And I asked, so is a Sudanese not allowed to do anchoring, you know? So it comes as a challenge, you know. So maybe you're deformed, or maybe your ears are big enough, you know. Maybe you don't look good or on screen, you know. So it is a challenge. It is a challenge that also we need to accept. Kama unajua you cannot be able to have on screen, then do the behind the scenes, you know.
All right.
Yeah, it's a good thing to understand. It has been a challenge to my peers also. Wanasema, "Ay, kwani ulipenyaje? Kwani ulipataje nafasi?" You know. So I'm telling you, it's by the grace of God. And that's why we love Chacha. Says Neema Tupu, as always.
It's interesting how you say it's by the grace of God. And actually mentioning your complexion, I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing at
we
the
play
way
makeup.
The positivity that you're coming out with. And people are watching us on Facebook. Martin Geshuki just saying, Moses Okech, that's great. You're saying your potential is deep.
Thank you.
And that brings me to the positivity of the kind of, you know, support you get from the public.
Sure.
Like Martin here saying your potential is deep. What impact does this have on you as a young journalist? Yet, you've not scooped on a word for sure. And you mentioned something that I hear most of the times as anchor as well. You're going far.
Yeah.
You know, when they say your potential is deep and that you're going far, what do you feel? Is there a lot of expectation above you as well, or on you as well? Because there's that aspect as well when it comes to young journalism.
Yeah, my expectation, Bado, is high. It's high because we're just starting. You mentioned as a young journalist, now we are molding steps. So when it reaches at a point that we now need to make other moves, we will just do so. Because probably what we fail to understand is as we are growing, we fail to understand the sense that we're not doing this for Kuomoka, you know. We're doing this because...
Are you for sure?
Yeah, we're not doing this for Kuomoka. It reaches at a point now you say, now I need money now, you know. So we are building steps. We are molding our brand, we're molding ourselves.
That's how it works in journalism. You have to build your brand before you make the money.
Yeah, because when you get to that point, it becomes that this man is very stable. Wow, how many people have we seen in the mainstream? We have likes of Johnson Mwakazi. He began as a young journalist. As a young journalist. Now he has a brand of himself. When we mention just Johnson Mwakazi, we feel like it's a name.
Okay.
Lulu Hassan, Rashid Abdallah, those are big names. J.K. Al, you know, those are big names, you know. So it reaches at a point now, we're not focusing on Kuomoka. We've already settled now.
Okay.
Because it takes time as a young journalist, it takes time. but now we're molding the steps now.
What would you like to change in journalism? You know, people talk about a lot of things, compromising journalists, incredibility of media, fake news going around, you know, purposely trying to shape the society differently, killing or building trust in society. And there are many other things you'd want to talk about. As a young journalist, what have you picked that is in Kenyan journalism that you might want to change or improve on? As much as you are the ones taking in, you know, these particular spaces in the near future, or already taking the spaces for that matter.
I'll praise Lookup. I'll praise Lookup TV.
And you're not being biased.
And I'm not being biased. Thank you. Yeah. So in turns, starting to work at this particular point, maybe young journalists or young in other sectors. But now you feel like we have few media stations in the country, but those people that are studying media, there are many. So how do they get spaces in the few media houses that we have? Now, when we have people here as interns, where are the others who have not gotten opportunities in other media stations? What are they doing? If you take a look, just take a look on the media stations that we have. How many interns do we have? How many opportunities they have gotten after school, or those opportunities for interns? So that is a challenge that I feel like when it can be corrected, we might have a great journalism aspect in the country.
Okay.
So this is something that pia mimi inanihurt.
Okay.
Inanihurt in the sense that hawa watu wote wenye wamesomea journalism, they haven't gotten opportunities kwa media stations. The few stations we have, wako wapi? Unanielewa?
All right.
Yeah, wako wapi? So when this will be corrected, the media stations will grow in the country.
All right, I know they are watching. So if how many institutions of you know, actually trained media personalities do you know of? Because only in my head I keep saying MMU, the Multimedia University.
We have a couple. I wouldn't be able to mention all.
So thousands of graduates every year. You're actually.
Where are they?
Okay.
Where are they?
So if they're watching this morning, today we're just talking about young journalism, and I would love to know where you all are. You know, tweet at Lookup TV, at Doris Anki, at
Sesmo Times.
At Sesmo Times, you know, and hashtag The Morning Drift. Say we are present. You know, because you never know. Lookup TV would actually prides in engaging in interns and building young journalists. So this could probably be it for you on the big conversation. If you know a brother or a sister who's pursuing journalism and they're not in touch yet, tell them to watch Lookup TV this morning at, of course, Facebook. Na Sesmo ameuliza vizuri muko wapi. All right, I want to hear from you, Sesmo. It takes a lot. You've said experience. You know, like I know the advocates, you need to work under somebody. They hold your hand. They guide you through it before you actually have a case and a hearing. Do you have a mentor in, you know, journalism? Because you cannot tell me you're shouting out names here and there, but you're not in touch with them. So how then? Who are you learning from? How then do you build yourself in terms of role modeling and mentorship as a young journalist?
Wanasema ni vyema kujituma.
Okay.
Vyema kujituma in the sense that when you are in the field you're hunting for a story. Then you see,
that is what we call reporting?
Yeah, reporting.
Oh, okay.
Ule ni Lulu Hassan. So make an approach. Make an approach. Wacha Lulu Hassan pia akufahamu, akujue. Now that interaction creates, maybe you can share contacts. After sharing contacts, now you tell him, you go to the direct to the conversation. You say, my name is Sesmo, my name is this and this and this.
So that's what it takes to you
just penetrate. Now, when the conversation now gets good enough, mwambie, how are you doing these things? Unajua mimi bado ni mchanga. Una manage aje? You know, that is the way you grow.
Okay.
I appreciate the likes of Terry Manuel. I think he was here.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he was here. So that is one of my mentors. That is one of my mentors. If you watch what he does, impactful, of course, a mentor indeed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one of the things you mentioned here is for you guys, it's not really to make the money.
Yep.
But you see, that's a bit controversial. The youth right now are struggling to make money.
Sure.
And there's been an aspect of that, utakula sauti yako.
Sure.
Yeah. And I'm just seeing here one Manyora Brian saying, big up yourself, Mose. Yes, another colleague. And I'm looking at the realistic part of journalism.
Clearly.
You know, you want to be as open as possible. Because right now, if a parent would ask you, a child, would you want to be a journalist? I think now they've gotten to the point, the same way unaweza mambo ku DJ. Sasa unashangaa utakuwa kwa TV because it started to come out clear that it's not just getting in and getting the money. Are you sometimes, you know, challenged by the fact that media is more of doing what it takes to impact the community as opposed to actually building yourself? You know,
sure.
You know, journalists rush into risky areas, take that bullet for you, just to capture the story. Are these risks in somewhere around your considerations?
The risks are very big, and there's very effective challenges actually when you're starting over. When you're starting over, people don't believe like always ifikia hapo. They don't believe in your steps. They don't believe in your steps. And one of the examples I'll give, I've also been part of the conversation that sasa mandugu zako wanafanya kazi fulani, they earning, na wewe sasa uko tu kwa media. Kwani what is your thought for life? Unataka aje? You know, so inafika point they're sacrificing for maybe kamchango fulani, you're empty at that particular point, you can't offer anything, but unaambiwa, so you go and do something maybe kesho, then get that punch, alafu we see how it
a side hustle.
A side hustle,
yes.
Then we see how it works out. But now you're saying that actually tomorrow I'm having a story mali fulani. Will we eat that story? Then you're left now. You can say anything. That's a big challenge. They don't believe that you can make a move, you can make a step.
Okay.
And it will reach at a point that now Sesmo Times is a big name. Sesmo Times can be mentioned somewhere. You know, so that impactful of molding the steps should begin from home and then forward it to the public and as well as the media.
And we're going into the electioneering period, so this is a very, you know, timely discussion, especially with the young journalists. Not forgetting I'm young myself, I'm a young journalist. Do not forget that I'm in the bracket and we're just having a conversation around it, hoping to also hear more from other journalists who are paving their way through it. And Ashley Kimberly saying Moses is articulate and well outspoken.
Thank you.
The future is bright.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I like the positivity that's coming out from the public as well for you, Moses. And, you know, being a young journalist trying to penetrate through, I want to hear your final, you know, kind of final words or remarks when it comes to being a young journalist in this era. Remember, the truth of the matter is the public has built it in a way that we trust you as big as your brand is. All right? We buy your story as big as your brand is, just like you have said.
Sure.
So you get an older veteran journalist attached to a certain, you know, advertisement that you will not get yet.
Sure.
But that's just how journalism works, you know, credibility, experience. So I want to hear from you, and maybe speak to the young journalists, people who are aspiring to be where you are today. They're probably just at their KCSEs and they've gotten the results and they're now applying in for, you know, coming into some journalist mode. Maybe you want to share something, an encouragement or your perspective on being a young journalist in this time and age and what it takes.
Yeah, shall I look at a camera?
Yeah, this, you can look at either of those.
Thank you so much. As I take
You
a
have
sip,
to sip water?
take a sip, I'm preparing myself to give some wise words.
Yes.
Now, we as the young journalists here in the country, we pass through so many challenges. These challenges are not there to actually deny us chances in the media. These challenges are there to build our focus and what we want in the media. As a young journalist, we develop creativity day in, day out. Molding your steps as early as now creates a better future, a better environment for your greater future. Right about now, we have different digital platforms that are assisting the young journalists and different creators to actually create their content and create their videos, create their stuffs in the online world. You never know who is watching. That is what we always hear. You never know who is watching. So probably you might get a chance because of your blog. You might get a chance because of what you have said, what you have done, and what are your creative levels as far as media is concerned. Don't give up. Every time is a leeway time. Take your time now from Sesmo Times.
Oh, okay. And I think you have an amazing voice. Ever thought of radio? That's part of media as well.
Yeah, I've thought of radio, but platforms zitajipa tu.
Zitajipa tu.
Yeah.
You're a very interesting person. And I wanted to ask you this one last question that probably just flew off my head. I hope to remember it, perhaps as we continue with this broadcast. I'm going into the culture umbrella. But I also want to, tell you that you're doing such an amazing job.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to your show that is premiering. And you want to touch more on it? So
Yeah,
that
I
people
can.
understand what's coming soon?
Kwanza it's a show that haiko limited to language. So unaweza piga sheng, unaweza piga kizungu, anything. So can I touch on this also?
Yeah, please tell us more about it. Kuna msesa nataka tu kuona huyu Moses anafanya
Anasema
nini.
nini?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, our viewers. This is the Morning Drift, actually the big conversation. My name is Sesmo Times, jina official, Moses Okech. Nitakuwa na show, inaitwa Hapa Kazi 2. Show hii inaangazia wale watu ambao wanafanya kazi, tunaziita zile kazi extraordinary, zile kazi zenye wewe hata ukipatiwa nafasi uifanye, unaona hata kama ni pesa wacha ikae. We sometimes call them odd jobs. Odd jobs. I wouldn't give examples, but if you feel like you have someone who does a very extraordinary job, a very amazing job, please give them a space. Tunaweza watafuta kwenye Hapa Kazi 2 hapa ndani ya Look Up TV. Thank you so much.
Yeah, karibu sana Moses, and I'm personally looking forward to that show. I can't wait to see how it goes. Keep doing what you're doing, and you remember you have mentioned here that journalism is more impact. And one last question, that is, do you feel that we're going to be losing, the power of, mainstream media to the digital media platforms? You're talking about YouTube. At some point, people have had that conversation of, very soon, as you journalists are working into paving your way, you might not have anybody watching TV soon. What is your point on that?
Yeah.
Are you on the same level? Do you have a different perspective to it? Because why would you still be here, yet you can start your YouTube channel and let it grow over time?
Kweli.
What is this contention and debate about? Where is your stand at?
Kweli.
Yes.
I can support that, because you find that the mainstream has less views than someone who has a blog on YouTube. You have 178,000 views on YouTube, but the mainstream has 28 views on YouTube. So YouTube has started paying the blogger or the content creator, but now the mainstream doesn't have views. It hasn't start. The payment hasn't started yet. You get the point?
Yes.
So we can sometimes preempt.
Okay.
We can lose the mainstream and have them on the digital media.
So it's a matter of balance, and I know you can hear my crew really talking loud at the back. We've tried our best to make sure they're quiet.
Sure.
But just to show you that the culture umbrella is coming in shortly, and I like what you have mentioned. Next time, I hope we can have, a breed of journalists, the older, the veterans, and the ones in the digital platform, to see how this balance then can actually be a reality. But for now, Moses, thank you very much.
You're
Even
welcome.
for being part of the Morning Drift, you will be seeing Moses more often on the Morning Drift as well. And we see how much impact we can create together as soon as we can. So thank you very much.
You're welcome, Anki. Thank you so much for
Do you
this
want to close
opportunity.
this for me and usher me into a break?
Okay.
Yes.
Now, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, those who have viewed on our YouTube, on our Facebook channel, that is Look Up TV, The Morning Drift, The Big Conversation. My name is Sesmo Times. We are going for a short break. Next back, we'll be right back with the Culture Umbrella. Don't miss out.